Students, you have studied in ninth standard the French Revolution and the Russian Revolution. You must also have heard about American Revolution. We use the word revolution because what happened in those countries brought change. The changes were long lasting, therefore it is called revolution. When something happens and there is a change and the change is long lasting, it lasts for many years, we can feel the effects of this change, it is called revolution. What happened was in France was a fight against injustice, against the king. What happened in Russia was again a fight against the system there, and they brought changes in Russia. What happened in America was again a fight against some unjust rules, and they brought changes. But we saw that they brought changes by fighting. Here, in this lesson, the age of industrialization, what is also called as Industrial Revolution, there was no fight with any king, but still it is called revolution because there was a change, and the change is long lasting. What happened some 200 years back, still we can feel the effect. The change that time was they moved from traditional methods. In this picture you can see I have shown one charka where they made cloth. It would take them 2 days to make a piece of cloth, but the change was from traditional methods to the use of machines. The machines produced, say for example, 10 pieces of cloth in one day, whereas the charka would take 2 days to produce one piece of cloth. So this change came in industry, therefore it is called Industrial Revolution. This period is the age of industrialization, how we moved from traditional methods to the use of machines. Therefore, let us see in this lesson what happened during this period, why it is called the age of industrialization, which country was the first one to make use of the machines, why it was easier for that country to make use of these machines, and all other factors we are going to see in this lesson. So, I have told you that there was a change from traditional methods to industries. Now, this change in the method of production from slow methods to faster methods by using machines, and once the production was more, the distribution of the things produced was more, the exchange was more, goods were exchanged, everything increased. Together is called as Industrial Revolution. Now this word was used by Arnold Toynbee. The word Industrial Revolution was used by this man Arnold Toynbee for the first time. England was the country where the Industrial Revolution started. The age of industrialization, the whole period is divided into two parts, 1750 to 1850 and 1850 till now. England was called the mother of Industrial Revolution because the revolution started there. England had advantage over other countries because it started there. It began in England. Now the reasons why it began in England is because England was very lucky for factors like favorable climate. The climate was good. And for example, in the textile industries, they had a lot of cotton. Because of the climate, they produced cotton. And therefore, textile industries, they could produce cloth. Raw material was available. then scientific knowledge and technological knowledge, because there were scientists, there were people who with ideas, so everything was there. Money was also there. So all these factors made it possible for England to start factories. Now, in all these factories, the machine used was steam energy. It was a moving force. Steam, water was used, and from that it was heated, and the machine got power. And this machine was used to increase production. Now, this machine was developed by Thomas Newcomen, but later James Watt modified this machine. And after modification, they improved on that machine. The changes were faster manufacturing. Manufacturing increased because now the machine was modified. More and more factories came. They also used this machine. Production increased. And as a result, once the production increased, what they produced had to be sold. So transport increased, communication increased. So you see, from the machines, there were changes in all the spheres of life. Therefore, the whole thing we study as Industrial Revolution, the changes which took place, we study as Industrial Revolution. Now let us know the major factors of the Industrial Revolution. Why the Industrial Revolution took place. Let us take the first factor. Geographical location. You can see in the picture, in green color, you can see England, and around that the sea. So England was free from wars and other problems. When the rest of the Europe was busy fighting, England didn't have this problem because of its geographical location. Humid climate was another factor which helped England. They could grow cotton, and cotton was used in the textile factories. So this is one reason the location of England made it possible for England to have factories. We go to the second factor, availability of capital. Capital means money. England had a lot of money from the trade in India and America. You know that India and America were their colonies. They made a lot of profit in these colonies. And the rich people had invested this money in industries. They started factories with this money. So there was money in England. They had brought gold and silver from colonies. That also helped them to set up factories. So there was a lot of money. This became another factor for the Industrial Revolution. We go to the third factor. The third factor was availability of natural resources. Cotton was there in England, coal was there in England, iron was there in England, mineral fuel was there in England. So everything required to run a factory was there. Therefore, it was possible for England to start industries. For example, let us take coal mining industries. Coal mining industries could produce metal cages, tubs, wire ropes, engines to pump water, which they could use in the mines. So this way, everything that was required was there in England. The fourth factor was availability of labor. Many people from other countries had come to England That is called immigration of people. When people come from other countries to some country to work, that is called immigration of people. There was also migration of landless farmers. People from England came to cities of England to look out for jobs. So there was enough labor which they could make use of in the industries. So this is another factor why it was possible for England to have factories. We go to the fifth factor, that is scientific and technological knowledge. You need scientific and technological knowledge in the factories. So many scientists were there in England, and the scientists gave importance to cost-effective machines, how they can produce better machines with less cost, which will give more output. So all the things required, the material, raw material, labor, scientific knowledge, everything was there in England. This made it possible for England to progress by setting up industries. Inventions of the Industrial Revolution. We have already seen that Thomas Newcomen's engine was modified by James Watt. The engine ran on steam power. It was smooth and powerful. It helped them to run the engines in different factories, to use the steam powers, for example, to use that in textile industry, in iron and coal industries. And when the production increased, automatically transport industries also flourished. So it brought many changes. Now I have put colors, different colors are used to show you that this was used in different industries. And we are going to see what happened in textile industries, what machines were used in textile industries and by whom. In iron and coal industries, let us see the inventors and their invention. In the transportation industries, we are going to see. And then later we are going to see how there were changes in other factors also. Textile industries. The inventions began in textile industries. There was demand for textiles. The demand was for two reasons. One is because of the increasing population, and second was because of the expanding empires of the British, that is the colonies. England was called the workshop of the world. You can see the pictures of inventors and their inventions. Eli Whitney, who produced the cotton gin, James Hargreaves, spinning jenny, Richard Arkwright, water frame, Samuel Crampton produced mule, John Kay produced a machine called flying shuttle, Edmund Cartwright produced power loom. So these were different inventors in the textile industries who produced these machines. Let us see iron and coal industries. Coal was used as power to drive steam engines. The steam engines was driven by using the coal. Iron was used to make tools, to build bridges, ships, and many other things. The inventor is Abraham Darby, who invented coke smelting process, a machine that you can see. And because of his machine, Britain was turned into an important brass good exporter. A lot of brass goods were produced because of these machines. Next we have Sir Humphrey Davy. He invented safety lamp You can see the safety lamp. The miners, those who used to work in mines, were killed because they used to go deep inside the mines and they used to take a torch and suddenly there was fire. But with the invention of safety lamp by Sir Humphrey Davy, it ensured safety of miners. Now there was no problem or fear of fire in the mines. So it protected them, the safety lamp. So these were some of the inventions in iron and coal industries. Transportation industries. Let's say roadways. A new system of building road was invented by John Macadam, and it got the name macadamized roads. Now to make these roads, he used mud between two layers of stones. After some years, that was replaced by tar. Now let us see waterways. The first steamboat was invented by Robert Fulton. The name of the boat was Clermont. First canal was dug in 1761 from Worsley to Manchester. Railways. The first steam locomotive rocket, first railway engine, was invented by George Stephenson. And the first railway line was laid between Manchester and Liverpool. These are two cities in England. In India, Lord Dalhousie laid the first railway line in 1853. Let us see how Industrial Revolution affected communication sector. Alexander Graham Bell invented telephone. Guglielmo Marconi invented wireless telegraph. And Rowland Hills started a system called penny post, where people had to pay a penny and their letters would be taken. There were changes in the cultivation of land. These changes in the condition of cultivation of land was called as agricultural revolution, which included new use of new machines, new crops, drainage of waterland, fertilizers were used, stock breeding. We will see some persons who brought these changes. Jethro Tull introduced scientific cultivation of crops. How crops could be cultivated scientifically. Seed drill was used, horsepower hoeing machine was used. Charles Townshend introduced a system called crop rotation. You can see in the picture how the crop was rotated. In dairy farming too, there was revolution. Robert Bakewell started a system of scientific breeding of animals. And with this scientific breeding, there was faster production. We can see that even now in the dairy farming, in the poultry, a lot of supply we get, all is because of these new methods. Industrial Revolution brought changes not only in England but all over the world. We are going to see its impact on India, impact of industrialization on British India, how it affected India. India became only exporter of raw material. British only took raw material from India. India did not produce anything. For example, cloth was not produced in India. Cotton was taken from India. Cloth was produced in Britain and then sold in India. So this way, Indian industry was in loss. Second point, railway took raw material from remote villages. Whatever that was there in India, the British took after the introduction of railways. So the raw material was taken. So this way industrialization affected India. There was shortage of crop for consumption. Only the crop which gave money like tea, coffee, indigo, cotton was produced. So it led to shortage of crop consumption in India. Traditional handicraft industries were closed down. For example, people used to make pots, earthen pots at home. No one wanted to buy these pots because now British sold brass goods and other goods in the market. So people bought those goods for cheaper rates. So traditional industries were closed. There was unemployment and poverty. People lost their jobs and people became poor. So these are some of the points how to show you how the industrialization affected India. It had its impact on India. Effects of the Industrial Revolution. Industrial Revolution changed the nature of society. Society was not what it used to be. Now there were many other changes. Industrial Revolution benefited society. The standard, for example, the standard of living of people increased. People began to travel by railways, use other means of communications. So I have just taken two changes that took place after Industrial Revolution. Let us see the impact on England. England became an industrialized country. Their export increased. They began to export to many countries, especially their colonies. England was called the workshop of the world because everything was produced there. As a result, England made a lot of money. Now let us see the effects of Industrial Revolution. Now these effects are in detail. If you are asked the effects of Industrial Revolution, you can write positive and negative. If you are asked only positive effects, you have to write from positive effects. If you are asked the negative effects of Industrial Revolution, you have to write from negative effects. So let us look at positive effects of Industrial Revolution. Railway and waterway increased movement of people. Railways and waterways made people travel from one place to another easily. Another good thing happened was quality and quantity of food grain increased because of the new changes brought in agriculture. The quality and quantity of food grains increased. Because of machines, the productions of goods increased. Goods were produced at a faster rate. Standard of living of the people increased. People got jobs in factories. They had money. They could buy what they wanted. So their standard of living increased. Banking and credit facilities increased. Because of lot of money, banks came up. Credit facilities came up. So all these changes came in England. Less burden of work for humans. There was less burden of work on humans. Machines did all the work. It brought nations closer. Now what was produced was sold. There was transport. There were railways. So Industrial Revolution brought the world closer. These are some of the positive effects of Industrial Revolution. Negative effects of Industrial Revolution. There are 4 negative effects which I have highlighted. But if you are asked a negative effect, then you have to write the points of only that particular negative effect. For example, if you are asked exploitation of workers, you have to write exploitation of workers. So let us see one by one. Industrial revolution led to exploitation of workers. The workers had no job guarantee. We have seen that there was a lot of labor available. So the owners of the factory were not bothered. Anytime they removed them from the job, there was no job guarantee that they would remain in the factory. Unhygienic condition of workers. They had to live wherever they got placed. Many people had come to cities. So there was this problem, and there was unhygienic condition. Long hours of work. The owner made them work for not 8 hours, but more than that, sometimes 18 hours, 20 hours, because they wanted profit. And they did not pay them good wages. They paid them very less after working for so many hours. So this is how they exploited the workers. Another negative effect of Industrial Revolution is child labor. Children were taken in factories to work, and they made them work for 10 to 14 hours. Many a time there were injuries and even death of children when they were working with the machines. There were health problems because of fumes and toxins, poisonous gases. Low wages, they were not paid good wages. They said, these are children, let's pay them less money. So they were exploited this way. The children had to come even on Sundays to clean machines because they had small fingers. They could use clean the machines. They could use them in factories to do all the work. So this way, children were exploited. Next, the third negative effect is colonization of Asia and Africa. That is, England, for example, went to countries in Asia and Africa and made this country their colonies. That is, take whatever they want from that country to their country. Now, the effect of that was they made colonies in Asia and Africa, brought raw material for cheaper rate. They went to these countries and brought from them raw material. For example, they wanted to make shirt. The cotton was brought from countries like India by paying very less to farmers. And they took the cotton to their country. They made cloth or shirt or whatever, and they sold this in the colonies to countries like India for higher rate. That is finished goods for higher rate. So they got profit. The colonists did not have political freedom. That is, they began to rule the colonies. The countries like India, they came as traders but became rulers. And they destroyed local handicraft industries. In India, people used to do some jobs, like for example, they would make cloth, they would make pots. But when the British began to sell their products, the local industry was finished. And they took, especially from Africa, people to work as slaves. They bought human beings by paying money and made them work. They tied them to chains, and like how we tie dogs. So this way they kept them and used them to do work. So these were the negative effects of Industrial Revolution. Fourth one is environmental problems. Industrial Revolution had environmental problems. There were a lot of cotton mills everywhere. So there was smoke because of this. There was water and air pollution because of coal burning. Coal was used So you can see in the picture, waste from domestic source, people's houses, and they left waste from domestic source. There were waterborne diseases, contaminated waters, so people had to drink this water. There were diseases. And earlier there were factories in the villages, but now people moved, the owners moved this factory to the cities because it was easier for them for transportation of goods and other reasons. So more and more factories came inside the cities, and it added to more problems. So these are some of the environmental problems